Hello, my name is Juan, and today begins my series on philosophy. Now, what is philosophy, right? If we look at the definition of philosophy, uh, philosophy is the study of fundamental ideas and issues that help us understand the world and ourselves. Now, I want to emphasize what help us understand the world means, right? Um, what does understand mean? If you search up the definition of understand, you might come across something like interpret or view something in a particular way, right? So, for example, if I were to be in this place in real life, right, and I see all of these buildings, they have their own colors. Some are red, some are blue, some are green, right? Uh, I would see it that way. But if I were to ask a dog, and we assume that the dog can, speak and converse with us just for a moment, if we look at life through his perspective, a dog would actually not know what you're talking about, right? Whenever I say red, if you can see, you know, the red building, the tall one, right? It's actually like a brownish, darkish, yellowish color, right? So he would associate red with that kind of brownish yellowish color, right? So what I may call and what I may see as red, they may see different, right? So this is what I think, understanding uh, means. It's to take information and to interpret it in your own way. That's what I think the definition means by that. Now, what are the issues, the fundamental ideas and issues that the definition mentions, right? In my opinion, I think it can be interpreted as being about anything. Um, Ideas such as anything math, science, arts, any real life problems that, we may encounter, such as, knowing how to handle ourselves, our emotions, relationships, hard and engineering problems, right? Sports, etc., right? So I would interpret the definition of philosophy as the study of life, um, to help me understand how to best go about life. And that's the way I see philosophy. I see it like a tool that helps me best go about life. Now, why is it that I didn't state that it's the way that you should see it, or that it is the only way that philosophy should be defined as, right? Um, because I believe that life is mainly subjective. As I mentioned in the dog's example, right? What the dog's perspective may be different from the human perspective, right? And this is actually how a lot of cultures are. Cultures see life differently, right? And the problem is that there is no power to enforce one perspective over the other, right? If I say something and I claim it to be true, and then somebody else says something different that is opposite of my claim, right? Then there are two truths that are clashing, and that just can't happen, right? It's either their truth, my truth, or maybe it's all truths, right? So it becomes very iffy, and there's no higher power that enforces that nowadays, right? Um, so this is why I believe trying to prove your truth to somebody else is, I think maybe it can be somewhat efficient if you manage to convince them, but it's usually a waste of time, in my opinion. A law of power mentions that you shouldn't win through arguments, you should win through actions, which show evidence, right? I'd say that rather than trying to prove your truth as the truth, you should give your opinion, and you should let them uh, conclude that it is their truth as well, right? If I were to say, okay, 1 plus 1 is 2, and I share it as if it was my opinion to you, then I would implore you to, try and prove if I'm wrong, if I'm right, right? And if it makes sense to you, then you agree with that. And we both agree on that. And we don't even have to claim them as truths, right? It's our own way of seeing, our own way of truth. And so I'm going to share my opinions, and it is your job to validate them, whether you agree with them and whether they coincide with your truth, right? Now, why is it that I would like to understand how to best go about life? Um, because I believe that knowing how to best go about life will lead me to a desired goal or outcome as best I can, right? And whatever I can do about something, knowing how to best go about it and actually doing that will lead me to the best outcome I could have, right? So, there are many ways of going about something, right? Like problem solving or anything like that. I would like it to have the most efficient, the least tiring method, best overall as I define best, right? Because some people may define best differently than others. So it's really up to me what I define best, right? For example, if there are two ways of solving a math problem and one was slightly faster than the other, more efficient, it gives me the answers faster. As you can see in this example on the China versus India method, I would take the faster one of the two, and it's the Indian one, right? Another example can be, let's say, I want to influence 10,000 people, right? And I believe that coming here to YouTube is the best way of going about it, right? It might be, it might not be. I have to see it out and try it out. But let's say I don't succeed at influencing 10,000 people, right? Well, I would come back to my assumptions and interpretation of truth, right? And if I believe it was my fault because I didn't do something or I did something, then I would change my philosophy or notion of truth, right? And whatever I do, as long as I believe I can alter the outcome to favor me, I will. And in the other hand, I embrace or accept what I can't change or should not change, as I believe, right? Now, when it comes to you as a viewer, I believe that if you struggle with something and you believe you can do something about it, then you probably can, right? And you probably should act on that. But you have to go do the work to, search for quote unquote truth, right? Because no one can build your philosophy, right? If philosophy aims to understand truth, but you don't know where truth is, right? You don't know what truth is. You have to build it on your, brick by brick, right? And that's the whole notion of the title, right? Building your own philosophy, right? It's building your way towards truth, which, whatever truth you may think is best, right? It is this search for this best way of going about life that you have to build. No one else is going to build it for you because you have to understand it yourself, right? It's almost like like skill, right? The more you practice something, the more skill you get, the better you get at something. And I see life the same way. And I see philosophy as this thing that you have to build to, approximate truth or your notion of truth, right? So if you're struggling with something, I would say you should change it if you believe you can't change it, because that's what I did with myself. I had a certain belief, right? Maybe imposed by my parents, maybe imposed by society, maybe imposed by anything else, right? And I challenged that, and I changed this notion of truth, changed my philosophy about, um, a certain thing, right? And yeah, it's I lost myself going through that search, right? I lost my mind for a little while, but I also found a new type of mind, right? I am a new type of person because of that search, and that's why you see me here. I went through a lot of self-analysis, analysis of outside sources, right? Let's say I was raised in a Christian household. I challenged a lot of my beliefs. Once I started realizing that my philosophy wasn't leading me to where I wanted to go. And so, I did a lot of self-analyzing and journaling. And so I would implore for you to start carving your own philosophy, right? Carve your path, and, build your own philosophy or notion of truth. If you're passed down certain beliefs from a certain religion, I would implore for you to put it to the test so that when it is truly put to the test, you can defend it yourself, right? Because if you can't defend it yourself, if you don't know why you believe something, then it's likely going to crumble when it's put to the challenge, right? And you see a lot of it in people like freaking out when they lose their job, right? They believe they were going to have the job for forever, right? But then they don't, and then now they start freaking out. But if they had a different way of thinking, a different way of going about it, they would be a lot calmer, right? There's, I just think peace of mind is better in my opinion, right? So this is really all for your benefit, like building this philosophy of yours. So again, I was implored to challenge everything you hear and to vet it and to build it into your own philosophy and your way of thinking, right? Ask yourself, is this valuable to me? Can it be valuable to me? What does it imply? Should I accept this? Should I not accept this? Does it feel right to accept this? Etc., right? And doing it this way, which is the way I did, is how I created my identity, myself, this new self that you're seeing. So let me know your thoughts, your concerns, and I'd love to have an open discussion. This is the first video of many to come, and yeah, thank you for watching.